Alright, guys, today I'm going to be giving you my top 10 most underrated coasters I've ridden as of 2023. Now, before we start, I want to give a quick honorable mention to Intimidator 305 at King's Dominion and Copperhead Strike at Carowinds. Intimidator 305, as you all know, is the greatest coaster of all time, at least in my opinion. It's got intensity. It's got everything. But a lot of people don't agree with me on that, but also a lot of people agree with me on that. So that's why it's not on this list, and same kind of goes for Copperhead Strike. There's a lot of people who really love it like me, and there's a lot of people who don't like it as much, so I didn't quite put it on the list. So starting us off at the number 10 spot is Steel Force at Dorney Park. This coaster has some really underrated airtime. It's butter smooth. The twister section dishes out great laterals. The finale is definitely the best part. You've got just a solid run of great airtime hills. The last few even give a pinch of ejector. It's nothing too crazy, but it's definitely better than a lot of people say. The double up is definitely the best part of the ride if you're up front. The drop doesn't do a whole lot, but still, the beginning section of the ride is still really fun, and overall, definitely a really underrated coaster. At the number 9 spot is Intimidator at Carowinds. I know a lot of people like to joke around about this being Intimidator or whatever, but I didn't get trimmed that hard. That being said, it was like 60 degrees, so it was on the cooler side, but I mean, come on, the trims can't be that bad. Because the airtime on this is definitely the best of any B&M Hyper I've been on. It's got, just countless sustained floater hills that are stronger than most B&Ms. Even Fury in the same park, I'd say it has equal airtime as Fury, which is really saying something. Of course, it's nowhere near as fast or intense, which is why Fury's a lot better. But this is still a great ride on its own. It's got a great plaza, so great theme there. And overall, definitely the best B&M Hyper in my opinion, and the most underrated. At the number 8 spot is Alpengeist at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. This is by far the best B&M invert probably in the world. Obviously there's Montu, Nemesis, Katoon, there's a bunch of good ones, but I don't see any of them beating this if I'm being honest. It's just so intense. That first half, your legs are pretty much numb the entire time. That Cobra roll is probably the craziest inversion in the world. I don't know, Death Roll, Mosasaurus Roll, they're going to have to bring it if they want to be more intense than that Cobra Roll. And the second half is a bit underrated too, so definitely deserves more love. At the number 7 spot, staying in the same park as Pantheon at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, a lot of people just didn't really like this. A lot of people said it was slow, didn't have enough force. Now, given I did ride it when it was just a few degrees under 100 degrees Fahrenheit, so it was probably flying the day I went. Same goes for Alpengeist, actually, but this especially because a lot of people said this had pacing issues. I didn't think it had that at all. I thought it was flying start to finish. Except for the first part, which you actually want to be slow because that zero-G winder going extremely slow like that is incredible. And that's not even a top 5 moment on the ride, which is really saying something. It's got incredible backwards airtime. It's got a great top hat, great outer bank. The best part of the ride is the stall, which gives great inverted airtime. That's honestly better than Alpengeist's Cobra Roll. Those are the two best inversions that I've ever experienced, in my opinion. And I think the zero-G stall is better than the Cobra Roll. So, yeah, that's incredible. Just overall, Pantheon, maybe I should try it when it's a bit cooler out, but based off of my 97 degree rides, it's an incredible underrated coaster. At the number 6 spot is Jackrabbit at Seabreeze, the coaster that I've ridden more times than any other in the world. I will admit, it's not the most impressive coaster in the world, and I'm probably a little biased in saying this, but you sit up front, you're in for a treat, let me tell you, because especially if you get a few inches of room, obviously I'm not talking get a foot of room, that's dangerous, but if you like don't get stapled, then man, any row towards the front is insane. Some of those step ups into the turnarounds, especially the step up into the brakes coming out of the tunnel, is crazy in the front. I mean, that's near Phoenix level airtime. I mean, I don't think it's quite Phoenix level, but it's definitely great. And the rest of the ride is definitely smooth. It's not the most intense thing in the world, but you'll get a few floater pops throughout the rest of the ride, other than the few turnarounds where I was talking about. So yeah, definitely a great underrated coaster. At the number 5 spot is the Beast at Kings Island. This is the ride that inspired my first ever song, The Beast. It's not very good, but if you listen to it, now you know where it came from, which, if you couldn't tell by the music video, then you're kind of stupid, but anyways, this ride is incredible. It's got possibly the craziest laterals of all time, like, especially on that sustained double helix towards the end. I mean, that's just insane. You're not going to get laterals like that anywhere else except maybe Legend, but I haven't been on Legend. And the rest of the ride's incredible, just flying through the woods. You get crazy aggressive lateral pops. You'll feel like you're going way faster than you actually are because you're right up against the ground, up against all the trees, bushes, everything. And obviously you've heard about the night rides, but trust me, they're incredible. You have to get a few night rides on this thing when you're here. And don't listen to people who say the front row's better on this. No, the back row is where it's at on this. Trust me, the forces in the back are better. So yeah, definitely give this ride some more love. Make sure to ride it when you go to Kings Island a bunch, because it's definitely worth a bunch of rides. At the number 4 spot is Goliath at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This is the highest ranked hyper coaster on this list. And I think a lot of people don't like this because it's not necessarily airtime focused. But if you know me, you know that I'm a bigger fan of intensity than a lot of people. I don't need just airtime. And this ride does have a couple moments of it. I mean, the first drop, unlike some other people say, does give a little pop of floater in the back. And then that Camelback gives sustained floater, which is actually quite good. And then, of course, the main section of the ride, the Twister section, there's an insane gray out moment in there. I mean, it's sustained, it's intense. I mean, what more could you want out of a good intense moment? It's got a ton of other great intense moments besides that helix. And just overall, I mean, if you love intensity, then I don't see why you wouldn't love this ride. Because I even know some people who aren't really the biggest, like, oh yeah, I need to just have airtime. Like, I know some people who also like intensity who don't really like this ride, so that's kind of unfortunate. But at the number 3 spot is the Vekoma SLCs. A lot of people say these are the worst coasters of all time, and I definitely have to beg to differ. Yeah, they're a bit rough, but come on, they're not that bad. They're not as bad as an Aero Looper, let's be real. And I actually like the old restraints. They definitely give support to your head, in my opinion. Obviously, the vests are better, but still, they're not bad. And the layout is actually really intense. If you can appreciate it, which I can, you'll be treated to some really intense inversions, insane foot choppers, and just overall a fun ride. At the number 2 spot is Phoenix at Knoebels, the coaster that sometimes is my number 1 of all time, even over I-305 when I think about it, because if I'm in the mood for some airtime, I'm going to Phoenix. This is the best coaster in the world for airtime, and I don't see anything other than Coaster at PNE Playland itself beating this in that department. A lot of people say, oh yeah, the Golden Ticket Awards overhypes it every year. Like, no, they do not. This is by far the best wooden coaster in the world, except, again, maybe Coaster PNE, but that's basically Phoenix on steroids, so. But even people who do really like this, like me, don't say it has the strongest airtime in the world. They say, oh yeah, it's a fun experience, appreciate it for what it is. Like, no, this is the strongest airtime you will ever feel outside of Canada. Like, you don't understand how crazy this is until you get on it with those buzz bars, the greatest restraints of all time, with that powerful of airtime. The airtime itself, like, if it had normal restraints, it still would probably be a top 5 coaster for me. The airtime is nuts. And you add the buzz bars in there, I mean, you're just getting sent up to the top of your buzz bar in the blink of an eye. I mean, it's insane. And I've been on other buzz bar Woodies, and they don't even get me to the top of the buzz bar when there's an airtime moment. This thing absolutely launches you into the top of that buzz bar, and you have no time to recover in between hills, especially towards the end. So overall, I mean, all the people who say the Golden Ticket Awards hypes it up every year for no reason, like, no, they don't. Just get out to wherever this is in Pennsylvania. I don't know. It's in the middle of the mountains, but get out to Knoebels, try it yourself, and if you have been on it and said it wasn't that good, I don't know. I guess you just don't like airtime then. So coming in at the number 1 spot, another possibly biased pick, but it's bobsleds at Seabreeze. This is just the definition of a charming roller coaster. It's definitely got some great laterals, some fun airtime pops. The trains are really cool. It's tiny, but again, it feels sort of like a smooth aero coaster, like an aero coaster if it was actually good is how I describe this ride, because it's janky, it's super unconventional, but it's smooth and definitely really enjoyable at the same time. And again, the fact that I get to ride this all the time definitely helps it. So those are my top 10 most underrated coasters I've ever ridden as of 2023. Let me know what you guys thought of this list down in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.